Our body is constantly giving us feedback. It's like we're walking around with this beautiful, intelligent instrument that's always speaking to us, and it's up to us whether or not we're tuning in to listen to what our body is signaling to us. Our body literally keeps score. There's actually a really good book called The Body Keeps Score, and I'm blanking on the author's name right now, but it's on my to read list based on a friend also in the mindfulness space who recommended it. And it talks about how our body literally stores all of our emotional experiences, almost like a library stores books. I mean, think about it. How many times have you walked into a situation, maybe into a meeting or conversation, and you just felt something? Maybe you felt tense, or your shoulders crept up towards your ears, or maybe on the other hand, you felt completely at peace, totally safe, like you could exhale and stay in that moment forever. You guys, these things are not random. That's not just in your head. That's your body talking to you and giving you this authentic guidance. And don't you want to feel that peace and sense of alignment as often as humanly possible? Whether it's like with a partner, a client, a family member, you just deserve to feel safe and authentic in your body. So, number one, our body definitely keeps score. Number two, mind, body, and spirit is one cohesive system. And this is not a surprise. I'm sure for all of you listening, you're super aware and in tune with this, but our body isn't just this machine that's carrying our brain around. It's deeply connected to the fabric of our spirit and our thoughts and our energy. And this is the whole reason that we talk about mind, body, and spirit, because they are inseparable. Each of your 7 chakras live in your body, your heart space and your gut instinct and your throat chakra. Your ability to speak your truth, all of this is housed in our physical form. And when we ignore what the body is trying to tell us, we literally disconnect from our intuition. But when we listen, we step into this wonderful flow. We live more fully and we essentially shine more brightly. Number 3, your body is your inner compass. So here's a simple example. You walk into a room and you meet someone for the first time. Your heart races, your hands might feel sweaty, or maybe you get this weird little flip in your stomach. Maybe it's calm, like you've known this person for quite some time. All of this is data and information. And it's your nervous system giving you real-time feedback about your environment. And personally, I've been noticing this with my clients lately a ton. I feel like I manifested an amazing like-minded community of people that I work on set with, and I can feel it in my body. I feel safe, I feel relaxed. And of course, I'm at work, right? For those of you who don't know, I'm an art director, so I work on set at the photo shoots, and photo shoots are not relaxing. They're quite the opposite, but I feel that like I still can be in my body and I can be myself and I can feel seen, and that is everything. Because when we're not stuck in this like fight or flight mode, when we're really living with our true selves, the body knows it and then it responds. And I just think that we underestimate the power of, how we're truly feeling. And maybe we ignore it because it's inconvenient. And I know I've certainly had, maybe a boss in the past, or just like a certain type of meeting that would stress me out, or maybe I had to deliver a presentation or be included in that meeting, and it would constantly, like every Tuesday at 2:00, like I remember our brief kickoffs at eBay, and because I was an editor, I had to really like step into my authentic like leadership moment of like, we are, shooting into all these editorial stories that are going to be all over the eBay website, and like my headshot's going to be plastered all over it saying, this is what we feel like is happening in this season, or these brands, or whatever the story was that we were telling. And every Tuesday, it's like I could just press like repeat. I would still feel uneasy and have to do like a little breath work before I went into the meeting. And, my body, I wouldn't say that that's unusual that we feel nervous or maybe, hesitant or anxious before we're putting ourselves on display, especially in business senses, because there's so many variables of energy of other people, and then, the subject that we're actually talking about, and the list goes on. But I think that, over quite some time, and I actually ended up resigning from eBay, as many of you know, but there's a point where you just have to realize, like, I don't align with this type of even environment anymore. And we're so used to being part of this capitalistic society that we have to perform, and we're here to produce, and we're there to get up that paycheck, and we're working our way on this path to promotion and more stock and more benefits and more responsibility and more ego, right? And I know ego is needed. It's healthy. We have to have that in order to, truly live in like a world that just is plain competitive. But there's a way that sometimes we might have to just listen a little bit more intensely to our body, and maybe intuitively it's telling us that we can't be in a certain situation anymore. Which leads me perfectly into number 4, which is like physical symptoms or sensations in your body. They are literally messages, you guys, like billboard, trust how your body feels, because it doesn't lie. And the second like that we realize our body is truly this like data point for us, we become more sensitive to it and the messages. Like when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I feel inflammation and flare up, and literally, especially in my knees, which I've been through a lot over the years from my volleyball career and multiple surgeries. And, for someone else, it might be digestion or maybe migraine headaches or insomnia. But when we truly, have a physical symptom in our body, this is definitely something to take note of. And I'll go back to my experience at eBay, which, by the way, was one of the most formidable, amazing points in my career so far. I'm super grateful that I was a part of it. But I did wake up one morning with a bloodshot eye, and it looked like somebody had stabbed me with a pen, a bloody eye, and hadn't been throwing up. I didn't poke myself. There was just all these things that I ran through the general list of what I thought could be wrong. I went to the ER, and the doctor kind of was a little flippant, honestly, like, why are you wasting my time in this busy ER? But he looked at me and he said, your eye is due to stress. You might want to take a look at your work and how you're living your day to day. Like, you got to just slow down. And I remember thinking to myself that I needed to hustle out of the ER because I was late for a call. It was almost like more ironic than ever, as I was sitting there having an ER doctor tell me that my eye was as a result to stress, or also the dentist telling me, like, you've been grinding your teeth in your sleep. Like, are you stressed? It's going to really like cause residual problems with your jaw. And then, my acupuncturist telling me that I should do a food diary to see about, why my gut microbiome was feeling so off. And it's all connected to your brain, right? But it's also, part of it's science, but like if your digestion's off, there's a good chance something emotional or energetic is also going on. And so our bodies aren't just responding to food or exercise or sleep, like they're responding to the energetic load that we're carrying. So, be really gentle on yourselves, you guys. Realize, like, even if you're dropping off, like, carpool to this big, school where there's all these inputs and parents and kids, like all this stuff that we put ourselves through. And I'm not saying it's negative. It's just part of being alive. but it's still what we have to carry our body through in these instances. And so I know for me, like physical sensations have really become so important to me. And also like with my yoga practice and even meditation, like how my stomach feels when I'm breathing and my availability to stretch, or my patience, like in a yin pose, and am I just overthinking right now, or why does it feel like I want to get out of this pose? There's a lot of ways that we can really sort of fine tune our own experience based on the feedback that we're getting from our bodies. And so I really encourage you to just, I guess, become a little bit more sensitive to it, and be a little nicer to yourself. It's like, I think we have so much, I mean, I don't want to go into this place, and it's not really a point I was planning on bringing up, but there's such a huge thing for women, primarily this body dysmorphia culture of the way that women feel they're intended to look or to act or to be, and this somehow standard of like pretty, or whatever this definition in society that's been sort of plastered into everyone's minds, which I really don't buy into. I think everybody is beautiful and really brings their own light to anything, whatever, in whatever sense, male, female, whatever size, whatever gender, whatever sexual orientation or socioeconomic status, or, fill in the blank. We're all, beautiful in our own way, but there is this sense, I think, where women especially can be really hard on themselves in the way that their bodies look. And I'm saying that as someone that could share in that sentiment too. And I try to remind myself, as I look at myself in the mirror, that, certainly I don't expect myself to be perfect, and none of us should, but there really generally needs to be an increase of compassion around our bodies, and how, if you look at how much we require of ourselves every day, would you think a little bit differently, or maybe more gently, or the self-talk that's, flooding through your mind, would that be a little bit less if you realized that you are doing so much? And also when you reach certain ages, things are just different. And that's a whole other host of things, which we're not going to get into in this video. But anyway, my last point about our bodies, the fifth point that I wanted to share, or actually, there's two more. So I have a 5 and a 6. But intuitive eating and sort of listening to the changes and the tides that we feel, like even on a daily basis, I think are so key to us. Like speaking to the physical body directly, like let's talk about food and nourishment for just a minute. I was a vegan for 4.5 years after I did my yoga teacher training in Bali, because I was there for 30 days, and part of the curriculum was learning this like non-harmful ahimsa lifestyle, which I really gravitated towards and loved. And the food there was just incredible, like the fresh fruit. There was these things called mangosteens, and I don't know if any of you have had them, but it's pretty much tastes like the best fruit I've ever had. And it looks like, the fact that these things are grown, they look like they're in this like little treasure chest that has a little brown casing, and then there's usually like this beautiful like design on the outside of it. It's miraculous how life is created, and food to be in this case. But there was coconut right off the trees, and juices and raw veggies. I mean, everything was so alive and vibrant. And of course, there's no pesticides, and really they don't need to use them there, but it's just, everything's so fresh right there on the island. But when I came home, I just decided to keep going with it, and not because I was really trying to do anything, except that I felt so good and connected to my body and to my physical self. I loved how it made me feel, and, especially because I was really just in this physical asana period of my yoga practice. Like I was really clued in. I could tell, there were certain foods I knew, like I can't eat this, at least for a couple hours because I'm going to take class. I started to really understand what fueled my body and what detracted from it. And then, like I mentioned, years later, I got hit really hard with one of the COVID variants. And I had long COVID. I had the one where you couldn't taste or smell. And I totally lost my energy. I even fainted at one point, which was really scary. My body had just been totally through it, and it was a long month. And like I'm telling you, all of a sudden, when my appetite returned, I was craving fried chicken out of nowhere. Like, my family was kind of laughing, like, what? I mean, I was the person that brought like all vegan stuff to Thanksgiving and was trying to convert like my meat and potatoes family into, vegan stuffed potatoes, which by the way, they really loved. But anyway, I just listened to my body and I just felt like that's what it needed. And I'm really glad I did. It's been a journey since, this is about 2 years ago. And, for a while I was still a little bit strange with just animal products. Like I wasn't used to it. I would get like a couple times I'm like, oh, I remember really liking your rotisserie chicken. I'll just pick one up at the store. And then I'd get it home and I just would kind of freak out. And I'd feel super terrible, but I'd end up like throwing it away because I couldn't touch it. I don't know. It took me a while. It's been like a walk, crawl, run, but I will report recently that I have been exposed to more meat, and my partner, he is very much just like eats all plants and animals and everything, and it's been fine to have meat. So I think I'm not totally plant-based at all anymore. I would say I eat a lot of vegan meals and tofu and lots of fish, but I just let my body lead. I would say like dairy is something that I still don't feel totally connected to. It's just that actually is hard to process. But I would argue that I think a lot of people don't realize it, but probably have the same effect. But you guys, we're changing and we're organisms and we evolve, and our bodies just crave new things as we move through the world differently. And I think it's something that we can take advantage to nourish ourselves and just get back to being in the moment. And intuitive eating, just like I would say intuitive living, is about really listening to your body's wisdom without judgment. And then letting go. Like, I think, you have to allow yourself to live, and there's just a way to do it that's a little bit more freedom seeking, as opposed to being in this like restrictive mindset, which I think so many of these restrictive diets are just too restrictive in general that for me personally. But anyway, moving on to my last point, because this has gotten to be really lengthy. I just wanted to kind of summarize that the body is really such a wild teacher for us. And I'll leave you with this. Like our body does truly hold like the truth of our emotional and energetic experiences if we're willing to tune into them. And your physical self is really a guide, like whether it's, inflammation or hunger or joy. I mean, listen, it's all communication. They say that like when you meet the aligned person, like, that might be your long-term partner, there's just a feeling you get of being like at home and like a comfort and this sense of your body just feeling at ease. And I would say that that's definitely something to listen to, and that it's very true. And then lastly, like, you're allowed to change, you're allowed to like shift your habits or your diet or, your environment based on how you feel and based on what your body's asking for. And I mean, I know for many of you who've been with me on this channel for a long time, I moved when, I came down to Southern California almost 8 years ago. And part of that was my body like really wanting to just be, and I wanted to like wear flip-flops and put myself on the beach and take walks and feel like, feel the sand in my toes and feel the sun and the vitamin D and the vitality of like living by the ocean, which I really appreciate still to this day. Because at the end of the day, your body, this body that we're in, this physical temple, is so sacred. And it's your home. It really like deserves your love and your trust and your respect all the time. So that's what I have for you in today's timeless message. I know it was a longer one. If this resonated with you, please, I'd love for you to drop a comment and let me know like what your body's been telling you lately, your physical body, and how you're like learning to respond to it. And also don't forget to like share and subscribe with someone who might need a little reminder of how to come home to their body, or just a nice meditation. I love you guys so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Until next time, stay grounded, stay glowing, and stay true to you. Take care.